everybody. Um, so
Are we
we are
live?
Cancer Grad. Yeah, we are on.
Hey,
We are live.
I have no
There's
idea if anyone is on this right now.
there. I don't think they are. I think this is us prepping. But for anybody
Cool.
who's watching replay, I am Aniela McGinnis,
I'm Nora McMahon.
and
Here.
we are Cancer Grad. This is
Yes,
this is the whole team. This is everybody. Did you just log on to yourself, or do we actually have somebody watching right
I did, but I
now?
got me
Okay.
in the background. But
There's
hold on.
two people.
I'm
Yay.
gonna log off of this because I have me as a background noise. So there we go. So I won't have the comments section right up for me, but I'm gonna put that up on my phone.
I'll read them up. So hey
Awesome.
everyone, this is Cancer
Hello.
Grad, and this is our Wisdom Wednesdays.
I
I
know.
have like a hand signed now for it. This is the hand sign. Just
What?
so you know,
Wisdom
Wisdom
Wednesday.
Wednesdays. Um,
That's
we
our
are
cancer gang sign.
that
So
is our Wisdom Wednesdays.
show
So
your colors.
and
That's terrible.
Wendy's just messaged in hi. So we'd love to know, those of you who are watching, where are you from?
Yeah,
Um,
where are you tuning in
where are
from?
you tuning in from? As we're waiting for other people to kind of get into the chat role here,
Yep.
start watching. So we'd love to know where you're from. But today's Wisdom Wednesday, Nora and I thought we'd both get in on this action, which we're super excited. This is how we do this. This is how Nora and I meet
Yes.
yeah, this is our,
God bless Google Hangouts.
woo,
That's how we plan stuff. That's how we meet. That's how we do our biz. And
Trinidad.
Trinidad
Wendy's
in
is
the
in from
house.
Trinidad in the Caribbean.
I love it. I've never been to Trinidad. I have gone to Barbados a bunch of times. I know that's not the same country, but
And Catherine is in New
awesome.
York. We are going to
Hey,
be there in a couple weeks.
yeah, we're gonna be in New York City in February.
Yeah, we're going to be in
So
New York City in February. I'm
I'm going to
walking.
I'm going to brag for Aniela. Aniela is going to be walking in New York Fashion Week for it's Anna Ono, and they do lingerie and whatnot for breast cancer survivors. So if you're in New York, hit us up.
Yeah.
Maybe we can meet.
And
and say
Ruth just
hello.
said hello as well. And Mary Leah has well said hello. I know you were on last week's. So awesome, guys. We're so happy to have you here. So
Yep.
today's episode of Wisdom Wednesday is.
I know. Tell me. I'm looking at you right now.
What?
Today's Little Wisdom Wednesday is have you felt like a burden ever as either a cancer student or a cancer grad? Yeah, and I can go into what kind of spurred this conversation between Aniela and I. So I've been having plenty of anxiety. I'm sure I'm not the only one surrounding this whole repealment of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm not interested in getting into who's voted for who or if you voted at all. That I don't want to even dip my toe in that water. But as a cancer grad, I have a lot of fear surrounding the repealment of the ACA, and more specifically the amendment that Congress recently kind of shut down so far about keeping the vulnerable the cancer community from being lumped in as pre-existing conditions. Under the ACA, that was made, insurance companies cannot deny you coverage under that clause. And so they voted to possibly take that out. So when I found that out, I was running errands and I was in my car and I had a full-on meltdown and ended up reaching out to call my husband, who is fantastic, and had like a full-on ugly cry, snot bubble, hyperventilating, freaking out, because of course, as cancer students and cancer grads, we all kind of, I'm sure, have the fear of recurrence. And all I can think is if I have a recurrence, because I had ovarian cancer and it's a highly recurring cancer, if I do have a recurrence and I am quite possibly dropped from insurance, at best I could go bankrupt, and at worst I could die. And that's the reality for a lot of cancer students and cancer grads that's wrapped up in this. And with that, I realized that this decision that was made by our representatives, that is being made, makes me feel like that I'm a systemic burden as someone who's been diagnosed, that I essentially am not profitable for an insurance company, so best to cut me off. And so that really kind of surprised me that I hadn't really explored that emotion yet. That like, oh, I kind of feel like a burden right now. I feel like a financial burden, the possibility of being a financial burden because cancer, as you all probably know, is pretty damn expensive.
It
And if I
is.
don't have insurance, I become a financial burden. And right now I kind of feel like a systemic burden. Sometimes I feel like an emotional burden when I have the hard days of trying to cope with whatever I'm coping with. So I figured I couldn't be the only one that felt that way.
Yep. And Mary Lee actually just said that that is scary. So,
It's super scary.
and
Which, by the way, if everyone is tuning in, we kind of posted it on our different social media. The reason that we are doing an earlier Facebook Live today is because there is a free webinar that is being offered by the NCCS. You can sign up. We've shared the link in our social media. You can sign up. It runs from 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock today. And it's a lawyer / woman who I believe is also a cancer survivor that is going through everything that cancer community needs to know about the ACA. So I would highly encourage you all, if you're worried about it, to tune into that.
And the link is on our Cancer Grad page and everything. So, but getting back to feeling like a burden. So, as Nora was just talking about, socially, she feels that we have been told, if I'm not mistaken, that there's this expression that because we're not profitable for insurance companies, that we are a burden that way. But also, we can feel like a burden for family. We can feel like a burden financially. We can feel like a burden through friends, and we're really lucky that so many of you were willing to share on our Instagram, and we had a few people comment that they felt like burdens going through this because within a month of their diagnosis, everyone was there to help, and after about a month, it starts petering off. And they felt like they were a burden to their friends and family because why would they want to come around?
Right. Or for some people that just don't show up for you when you kind of need it most. Is it because, sometimes you can feel like a burden that way? And what I have really learned is that typically, 99.9% that stuff is not about you. It's about the other person. And you have to kind of remember that, keep that in the forefront of your mind, that other people's reactions to your diagnosis are not at all about you. It's always about their experiences or their fears, their anxieties. And also for the people that, lavish you with the love and support, at the beginning and maybe peter off, it's probably just because they don't know that you might need help or that you're not asking for it or that,
So we're going to talk. So we just got some love and smiley faces on this. So yeah, type in the comments on if you have felt like a burden and what is that specific thing that you felt triggered you feeling like a burden. But we're going to talk then about going into that with your friends might not know that you need the help.
I am terrible at asking for help. I mean, I wrote a blog post. So if you go to our blog at cancergrad.org, you can read a little bit of what the blog post that I wrote about this. And part of it is also like, I was raised, my father he's 84 years old. He was born in 1932. He's a little bit older for, people my age, but he was a poor Depression era child who had to make for himself his whole life. And he really instilled that in me and my brothers, that we should always try to be self-sufficient. And to an extent, that's great, but no one doesn't need anyone. We all need each other. We all need someone in our life. Or
Catherine actually just commented in that her friends actually stepped up big time. I was surprised and thought everyone would go away, but quite the opposite.
Oh, I was very fortunate in the same. I had so much love. I mean, I was overwhelmed with the love and support. Still am. Like people, they care. And the thing is, like, I've been on that end of being a caregiver in some sorts. And it's not because I feel like I have to, help someone. It's because I want to. I want to help them because I have empathy. Yes. And plenty of people actually have empathy and sympathy and want to help in whatever ways they can. And the thing is, you have to know when to ask for help if you need it, or you have to let people help you, because that's also how they heal in it as well.
So I'm going to get super honest here.
Go for it.
Woo! Okay, I have been a caregiver. My mom had ovarian cancer, and then after she passed away, the year after, I got breast cancer. And my mom, for part of her cancer, my mom had cancer for 7 years, so it was a long road. And there was a part of that time where she lived with me, and I will admit, it got hard. Um,
Mhm.
it got really hard, and I'm not saying that my mom ever felt like a burden, but there were times where I was angry that she was sick. I was overwhelmed. And so when I ended up having cancer myself, I tried to be very conscious of that feeling because I didn't want my husband to feel that way about me. And I'm not proud of that emotion, but I'm being honest about that emotion as a caregiver right
Mhm.
now. So when I got sick, I made sure to really try to spread out the I won't say
Responsibilities?
yeah, responsibilities. I was about to say obligations, but they're not. But that needing of support, it can feel at times overwhelming for a caregiver if there's only one or two main caregivers.
Mhm.
And my mom came from a generation where her cancer was very private. And she didn't really
Yep.
talk about it and didn't ask for help.
It's this one. Do they have
Cancer.
do you have yeah.
Yeah, it's that
Say it.
whispering of the word. And as a caregiver, it was really hard because we couldn't get that extra support in because my mom wanted to be so quiet about it. And that's
Mhm.
her right. It was absolutely her right. I understood. But it can be really helpful to the caregivers if you are feeling like, you know what, I might be burdening them, of asking for more help from other people,
Mhm.
of asking, of posting. What I end up doing when I end up getting, going through my breast cancer, I had chemo,
Mhm.
and I did 13 sessions in total. And the first four, my husband and a couple close family members took me. And then I was going to be on a weekly chemo. I was going from AC to Taxol, and Taxol was going to be weekly. And I had four people who said they could always take me. And I waited until a Sunday night, and my treatment was on Monday. And I went and asked all four of those people, and no one could take me. And my husband would have taken the day off of work, but I didn't want to be a burden to him. And so I was like, well, you can drop me off and I can take an Uber home. And I remember feeling like nobody loves me.
Mhm.
I have no one who wants to help me. I am this burden. And I let myself have a pity party for a
Mhm.
good 10 minutes. You just let yourself feel the things. You're allowed to feel these things. We're not telling you can't feel this.
Mhm.
Feel all of your emotions. But afterwards, I stopped. Okay, all right. Done feeling bad about myself. And I went on Facebook and I posted a request for help, just to like a blanket request to the internet. And I did it in a joke in case people said didn't respond and then my ego wouldn't feel so bruised. So I was like, the way I worded it was, win a day with Aniela. Here's what you get. You get to pick me up at 7 a.m. You get to drive me to chemo. You get to watch me get stabbed. You get to listen to my medical history.
You get to see me go under Benadryl and then slobber all over myself when I fall asleep because
Yes.
I'm heavily drugged with my
You,
pre-meds.
you get
Yes.
to do a doctor's office dance party with me because I would film every single appointment because I would dance in it. And these people would get to join me. And so I had this like silly list of things that they got to do. You get to bring me home and put a bucket next to me. You get to share the half of the really dry medical sandwich that they give you. And I didn't know if anyone would respond, but I ended up running out of chemo days, is what ended up happening. People who I was acquaintances with, wasn't even technically friends with. I never hung out with these people. They all reached out and they were coordinating with each other. Like, I can take this Monday, who can take that Monday? And it became this beautiful moment for me of where I felt like a burden and realized that people wanted to help if they had a way to help. They just
Yep.
need to know how to help.
Mhm.
And that became this incredible thing. And it made it so that I actually loved chemo. And Ray Lee actually just wrote in. She was, I live with my 91-year-old mother who beat cancer with mastectomy and tamoxifen. And she doesn't understand that I need chemo and all that it will involve. So I feel like a burden because I am. You
No,
are
you're not a burden. Here's the thing. I understand that feeling. You are not a burden. Having a cancer diagnosis is the burden that we unfortunately don't have a choice in carrying. But you as an individual are not a burden. And that diagnosis, here's the thing, if you can't find people in your immediate area to ask them for help that are not willing to help you, and even if it's like the emotional side, reach out to our community. Reach out to the Cancer Grad community. Join the Cancer Grad Community Quad. There are a ton of people who get it because they've either been through it or they're in it now or they're caregivers. And they will be more than happy to help in whatever, even if it's like, hey, I'm just going to post this on the internet in this group, in this little safe space, and I need to feel that support.
And we'll listen to you. And that is our Facebook community quad. So it's Cancer Grad Community Quad. Feel free to
sign
join.
Up there if you're not there already. We'll be more than happy to help you.
And Catherine also said, I just went to go get chemo alone because I didn't want to bother anybody, and it was depressing. But some friends insisted on coming with, and I am glad I allowed them to come.
That's the thing, is the allowance to let people help you. I mean, I know for myself, when I don't like to see people suffer or struggle, and it makes me feel better as a human being when I am allowed into people's lives to help them in the ways that they need to be helped. So give that to other people, that gift to other people. It is a gift.
And so with that, so again, talking about, okay, so you happen to feel like a burden. Some of you have said that you did, or you don't want to ask for help because you don't want to burden people through this. And as Nora just said, that cancer is the burden. You are not the burden. And to be able to share that load, and yes, people might drop off after a month, mainly because they just forget. People are like, "Oh shoot, you still have that cancer thing?" They don't know. If they've never been through it, they do not know, and we have to remind them by asking for specifics sometimes. And you don't know what you need until you're in it. It's just the way it works. But I know that, like, when I posted a video of me dancing at chemo every week, it made it so people remembered that I was in treatment. And because of those dance party videos that I posted, people would go, hey, I want to take you to chemo. So where people started petering off, I'd have new people coming in because they kept seeing, oh, shoot, she still happens to have cancer. I mean, people genuinely just forget. They go on with their lives, and it's nothing personal. It's just that it's not that you are a burden to them. They just forgot. Like, oh, shoot.
The other thing with that is other people have their own burdens. They have their own lives and their own burdens that they're probably closing off as well and trying to cope with and manage and forget.
Thank you.
Right? And that's the thing. Like, we don't know what other people are going through. And I have learned that 99.9% of the time, it's not about me. It's about what they're going through. And, that's okay. Like, it's okay to remember that. I'll say this too, two things. One is, when I was going through chemo, I was just having such a hard time with the anxiety of not knowing what was going to happen, not only with chemo, but my diagnosis. And it's terrifying. It's just straight up, it's terrifying. Ovarian cancer is like, it's a super deadly cancer. Yeah. And I, quite honestly, didn't know if I was going to live or die through the year. So trying to wrap my head around that is just, I mean, no one should have to do that. Yeah.
Well, Georgia just gave a great comment. She said, I'm so grateful for my silent sisters in forums and groups on social media. I feel like I'm a burden to my friends and family wanting to talk about what I've been through all the time. And that, I think, brings us to a next point that we actually were going to mention. And Georgia, thank you. Great segue into that. Yep. So those of us who have been through this, I was so lucky to have somebody who reached out to me when I was diagnosed and gave me the inside scoop. Like, no judgment. We were able to laugh about it. And they mentored me through this. And they'd call every couple months and just check on me. And they'd see how I was doing with this new stuff. And they'd give me new tips and new insight. Nora ended up being referred to me in the midst of mine, so I ended up doing that to her, and it's a domino of each of us end up doing this to somebody else. And so if you can't, even if you're in the middle of chemo, if you can talk to two other patients who either just got diagnosed and are a little earlier than you,
Mhm.
you won't feel like as much of a burden because you'll be helping someone else. And you can do that
Yep.
from your chemo bed. And I remember there was this one moment where I was talking to Nora, and I'm bald, no eyelashes, no eyebrows, my fingernails are falling off, and I'm like, if you ever need, I'm here, you can always call me. And Nora's like, you gonna...
You're going through this too. If you ever need someone, like I'm here. Like Aniela jokingly says that sometimes she may have came off as like the chemo Yoda, which always makes me laugh. Which was so gracious of her. A mutual friend of ours had he had basically tipped me off to Aniela, who was being very public about or forthright on social media about her diagnosis and going through chemo. And I saw that, and I had just been diagnosed. I was about what 2 months,
Couple
2 or 3 months
yeah.
after Aniela was. So Aniela was in the midst of like almost finishing up chemo by the time that I was starting chemo. And so she had kind of been through it. She had been through some of the stuff that I was right about to go into, and there was incredible anxiety that that follows that. So I kind of, outside of my like, this woman has no idea who I am, but I'm gonna like send her a note and tell her that like our mutual friends sent me her info, and thank you for being forthright. I've just been diagnosed, and I swear to God, within 5 minutes, Aniela messaged me right back with her phone number. Like, if you need to talk, here's my number. And that's what I kind of laugh. I'm like, this woman's in the midst of this as well, and she's trying to, help me. She probably needs help. So, and that's actually how we, first started talking on the phone and hit it off. And then, we're FaceTiming each other. And how this whole Cancer Grad concept came about was just through that mentorship.
And at this point, because of what we're able to share with others, I don't feel like a burden at all.
I feel like it's like Beyonce making lemon from lemonades, or lemonade from lemons. It's this thing where we've had this terrible diagnosis and felt like a burden, but how do you flip that script and how do you help other people and turn it into something that helps other people, to turn into something good that's positive?
Yeah, and so those of you who have been through cancer, who are in cancer right now, you are so valuable because
Yep.
you are valuable to society. You are valuable to, I mean, just the greater evolution of this planet's consciousness. In all honesty, because you have an insight that so many other people don't. And that is what your value is. And just as being a human, your value.
It's kind of one of these things I said to Aniela earlier. Like, I would never look at Stephen Hawking and his, his disabilities as a burden. The man is brilliant. He's a value. He's adds so much value to our society and to our, our planet with his brain power and his vision and all that. It's like Stevie Wonder is one of my favorite musicians and humanitarians of all time. The man is blind, but that does not define him, and he's not a burden. He had so much value to our cultural and musical landscape. He's like a national treasure. Like, again, this disease is terrible in many ways, but you are not a burden. You're not a financial burden. And, again, this whole thing with tying it back to the ACA, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep writing and calling my senators. I'm going to march, and I'm going to stand up, and not just for me, but for all of you in our community and for anyone else who has human rights that are being threatened right now. I'm going to keep using my voice, my valuable voice, to tell we're not burdens.
Yeah.
We're not. I refuse that. I refuse that.
You deserve to be insured. You are not a burden because you cost money to actually be insured.
Yep.
I mean, we are not burdens. And Ruth actually just wrote in right now. She goes, I'm having a hard time battling colon cancer. I am so sad to hear when people say, but you look so good.
Oh, boy.
Someone asked my sister how was feeling, and no sooner did my sister finish, did the person, and it cuts up, I can't really read the rest of it, but I imagine the rest of that comment was saying that she looks so good. Yeah, and that's the thing. People don't understand what this is until you're in it. But we are all here to support each other. And I think that is the key is, yes, having cancer and dealing with this one on just by yourself can feel like a burden to yourself. It
Mhm.
can feel like you can worry about it feeling like a burden to others. But if you spread this out, if we share the weight of this, of those of us who have been through it, we help mentor others. And
Yep.
I highly suggest private messaging somebody, and
Mhm.
even better is phone calls. I think phone calls you can get, it's like a confessional. We don't know each other,
Mhm.
we've never seen each other, and we can go and honestly talk. And I have, at this point, I have mentored at least like 15, 20 people,
Mhm.
given my phone number and been like, here, all over the world at this point. And we've had these great conversations. And it doesn't take much for you to give back. And by giving back, even just a conversation of being emotional support to somebody can help you feel better, and it helps them feel better. So that
Yep.
really helps relieve that. I also, we had a little bit of a slight list. So, like, we were talking about feeling like a financial burden because
Mhm.
cancer is expensive. And so, with that, when it comes to insurance companies, just so you know, you can ask for having your bill made into a payment plan that is
Mhm. You could.
manageable, and that payment plan can be small, even
Mhm.
can kind of help you feel like you're going to manage that.
And this is again, if you're in the U.S. healthcare system, which is
Yes.
already got plenty of its problems, and I don't know what Trinidad's like, or there are a lot of other different systems in throughout the world, and I know we do have a global audience, but use your powers to negotiate. Don't be afraid to try to negotiate a bill down. Just
Mm-hmm.
say, I can't afford that. This is what I can afford, and try to meet people halfway with the hospitals.
Yeah. So
And it's if it shouldn't have to be bankrupted by this.
you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. And you
Mm-mm.
should have access to affordable health care. That is just, what I firmly believe is a basic human right, that every person should have access to affordable health care. And the ACA, in my experience, is not perfect by any measure, but it's what we have right now. And, the
Protects
fear
a lot of
that it'll
us.
be scrapped without a replacement is just, that's unacceptable. And uh, that's whether I have cancer or, a broken arm,
Mm-hmm.
or just want to go and do preventative care. That's,
Mm-hmm.
you deserve that. You have a right to that.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
you're not a burden. You're not a
Mm-mm.
burden. Having cancer can be a burden. It can feel like that. But, again, the action items are it's hard to be vulnerable and ask for help, or even know when you need help, because sometimes I don't even know when I need help. But to be upfront about that
Yeah.
and say, like, this is how you can help me.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone is not able to, just, don't take it personally, move to the next person. And if you can't find someone in your immediate area, then look online at our
Yes,
community.
and so there's also other organizations that can also be very
Mhm.
helpful. Stupid Cancer
They're great.
has they have on their site. If you just click on it, they even says like, "I need money," like, and so they can help guide you as well. There's
Stupid Cancer is an amazing resource.
amazing. We absolutely love Stupid
They're great.
Cancer. They're
Yep.
incredible. There's also Susan G. Komen. They do have resources. I noticed
Mhm.
they get some hate recently, but they are a great organization, and they do help fund other smaller organizations with the money they get. There's
Mhm.
Gilda's Club.
Gilda's Club.
Gilda's Club gives tons of emotional support. They have a Gilda's Club in different areas. I'm actually going to start teaching improv comedy at the Gilda's Club in South Florida starting in February. And they give great emotional support so that way you're not putting this on your family if you feel like that's a burden. And they also don't know how to help you. So,
American Cancer Society, if you're in the U.S., I mean,
mhm,
they'll have a list of resources on their page.
exactly, exactly. And some people set up a GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that that could be very hard. Um, that so I'm just reading some comments as we're going through. Nancy appreciates her hubby and great healthcare providers.
Yep.
Um, yes, yes, all of like these are ways for us to find that support, for us to share with each other, getting through this. Also, if you're feeling like a burden, joining forums, joining a place like our Facebook Cancer Grad Community Quad, and the thing that we really want to stress as well is getting professional help. If you really feel like, okay, this is crossing a line, go to therapy.
I
There,
have done that. When I was in the midst of chemo, I was having a really hard time with the anxiety of it all and how overwhelmed I felt. And I knew that I didn't want to just lay that all on my husband. This was my choice. It wasn't because he would not listen to me. He would in a heartbeat, but I did not want to, quote unquote, burden him with my, my emotional baggage that comes along with the diagnosis and, trying to work through that. And so I reached out and I found an excellent therapist, and I would go to him once a week, and he helped me kind of get through some of these emotions and just to sit there and listen and kind of guide me through it. And that was an amazing resource. My hospital where I used to get chemo, they had people on staff that would, write me to check in about just my mental health going along with being in chemo, and see if I wanted to be set up with someone in the hospital system to talk to them. Take advantage of that.
Yeah. And hi,
No shame in
Stacy.
that game.
Stacy just got on here and said hello.
Hi, Stacy.
Oh, and Georgia just said this week I actually started counseling, and the weight finally felt like it started to lift.
Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Good
Georgia,
job,
for saying
Georgia.
that.
Georgia, thank you for being
Sharing
open about
that.
that. I know
Yes.
that's hard, and that might help a lot of people who are reading this and might be considering that and afraid to do that.
And it is one of those amazing things that the moment you ask for help, sometimes you feel better just from that single moment. I remember when I started going to therapy after my mom passed, I was really depressed and kind of stopped eating, and I was a mess. I was a mess. And about 3 months in, I was like, okay, I need help. I need professional help. And I needed to talk to someone. Stacy just said, talk about it helps. And
It does.
And as Georgia said, it's hard to ask for it, but she finally did. And I as well finally asked for that help. And the moment I made that phone call and hung up the phone to schedule that first appointment with a therapist, I immediately felt better. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't have to go anymore. I still went.
You should go.
But I immediately felt better. And Ruth just said, my sister is my full-time caregiver, and I appreciate and love her so much.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
And Stacy,
awesome.
but after 20 years, I still feel guilty about asking for help. Thank you for admitting that. Stacy has had cancer multiple times. She has masters and PhDs in this stuff.
Yep.
I mean, she is a cancer grad with
She's
multi-majors.
got tenure, man.
But Stacy just said because sometimes she feels like a burden. So us helping each other really does relieve that. And I think that is there anything else you feel like you want to touch on this?
I think for the most part, does anyone, here's the thing, let us know in the comments whether you're watching this live or you're watching on a replay of other topics that you might want us to touch on, that you want us to talk about. The other is, again, go sign, if you're not on Cancer Grad Community Quad, there's a great bunch of people on there that would love to support. I think Aniela and I, part of our vision with Cancer Grad is to have a study buddy program at some point, so you can either help mentor someone who's gone through it, or
find a mentor,
exactly.
or just somebody who's like in it with you, talking about it with somebody who knows. Feels so good, like Stacey said, talking about it.
Exactly.
And Stacey just said she loves both of our post-chemo hair.
Oh, thanks. Mine, yeah. Thank you, Stacey. I'm going to try to take a compliment there, but
you look gorgeous. And Mary Leah even said that she's watching live because she even sets her alarm for this. We love you. Thank you.
The other thing is, feel free to share and spread the word. And if people can benefit from our little slice of community on the internet, by all means, send them our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just supporting each other, because then none of us feel like burdens if we're helping each other.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you don't go to our site, or if you haven't been to our blog or any of that stuff, we do have a Cancer Grad yearbook where we are trying to, once a week, every Friday, we're trying to keep up with that schedule of basically profiling someone who is either a cancer student or a cancer grad or a double major,
cheerleader, or even people who have studied abroad. So if somebody has passed but you really want them to be honored, we put them on there. We share their stories.
Yeah, so just hit us up. You can info@cancergrad.org. You can send an email there, and we'll be happy to send you our little welcome packet with questions and feature you. It'd be great, because we think that one of the things that we both firmly believe is we all need to tell our stories for us, but we also need to see our stories in other people and to feel that connection. So that's kind of one of our attempts to do that. So spread the word, and it's not just women, it's men too.
Yes, we just featured a testicular cancer, Justin.
Yeah, Justin, who is very funny and has a great website called A Ballsy Sense of Tumor.
And Stacy, yeah, heck yeah, we want to pick you. If you want to, we would love to feature you, Stacy.
I would love it. Like,
send us an email.
Feel free to reach out
we
to
will
us if
super
you're
send you
willing
the
to
packet.
share.
Oh my God, we love you, Stacy. So,
Yes,
and go to cancergrad.org to get t-shirts. We're putting out new ones. If you go into the school store, I'm making Cancer Grad cheerleader shirts. People have been requesting it. I had a bunch of requests recently for that. So I will be making some of those up. And let me know which ones you like.
Oh, the cancer student t-shirts.
Yes,
too.
I'm going to be making cancer student t-shirts. We also, and of course our mugs, our fancy mugs. Join the community quad if you want to, have that study buddy feeling and just talk about stuff. Next week's topic. We get into February next week.
Oh yeah.
Which is Valentine's Day month. And we're going to talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Post chemotherapy. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex.
Also, if there's anything that you want us to cover, again, we're always open ears. We're always want to hear what you all are feeling or what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And just let us know. We'll definitely consider it.
And yes, but lots of extracurriculars next month. This month has been super heavy because we've just been going into hard topics. But next month we're going to be talking about how to love your body. I'm going to be walking New York Fashion Week topless. So I know about loving your body and through this disease and how to get there. So I'm going to be talking about that on the 8th. On the 1st, we're going to be talking about rediscovering your body post-cancer. Because now you're like a new 15-year-old.
You don't know what works and what doesn't.
What doesn't work. It's ooh. That was just a masturbation joke. You couldn't see that, but I'm just letting you know. We are super inappropriate. So next month's going to be crazy inappropriate. So crazy inappropriate. And we cannot wait to have fun with you all and talk about sex and I'm going to talk about dilators for postmenopausal, post-cancer vaginas. We'll probably do an entire Wisdom Wednesday on lubricants and getting our vaginas back. So
also, we are hoping to get some points of views from the men as well. And they're, women aren't the only ones with these body images. So
and I love Stacy just wrote, she's like, does sex feel different without hair?
Oh boy.
We're going there. On that note, we love you, Stacy. Yes. On that note, I think that's it for this week's Wisdom Wednesday.
Yes, it is, Aniela. I'm looking straight at you.
All right, I'm looking at you as well. And we'll probably start doing interviews this way in future videos because this is ridiculous and fun.
Exactly.
Why not? Why not? All right, we love you guys so much. Oh my God, Stacy's like permanent Brazilian.
Awesome.
And Ruth, I just want to answer quickly Ruth's question. Ruth said that this is her first time with us, ladies. Would I be a cancer student? Yeah. And there's no shame in being a student. It just means you are learning from life and you're able to teach this stuff once you finish. Exactly. So, all right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Mwah, 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 mwah. See ya.